The Galactic Confederation's warship, Righteous Purpose, sliced through Earth's orbit like a predator circling its prey. Lieutenant Krithax stood at attention in the deployment bay, his crimson scales gleaming under the harsh military lighting as he addressed his strike team. "Remember your training." He clicked his mandibles for emphasis. "These primitives barely understand faster than light travel. Their station is a crude construct, likely to fall apart at the slightest show of force." His soldiers chittered in amusement, their crystalline armor humming with power. The intelligence briefing had been clear. Earth's sole orbital platform was a diplomatic station, minimally staffed, and poorly defended. The perfect target for the Confederation's protective integration protocol. Krithax had performed dozens of these operations across the galaxy. Primitive species always yielded when faced with superior technology and overwhelming numbers. The deployment pod screamed through space, connecting with the station's primary airlock with surgical precision. Krithax's HUD displayed the station's schematics, marking life signs. Peculiarly, only one human signature appeared, located in the security office. "Single defender detected," Krithax announced, mandibles twitching in disbelief. Clearly, they never expected real opposition. The airlock cycled, pressures equalizing. As his team prepared to breach, a calm voice echoed through their communication systems, speaking perfect galactic standard. "This is Security Chief Marcus Chen of the Earth Diplomatic Station Harmony. Your unauthorized docking attempt has been logged. You have exactly one chance to retreat." Krithax's second-in-command, Zixtal, nearly dropped his plasma rifle in surprise. They shouldn't have translation capabilities this advanced. Irrelevant, Krithax dismissed the concern. "Begin the insertion. Standard overwhelming force protocol." The first wave of soldiers poured through the airlock, weapons race. The station's interior was dimly lit, emergency lights casting long shadows across curved corridors. Krithax noted the artificial gravity was set higher than Confederation standard. Uncomfortable, but manageable in their powered armor. "Security Chief Chen," Krithax broadcast. "The Galactic Confederation is assuming control of this station for your species' protection. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated with dignity." The response came not through the communication system, but from hidden speakers throughout the station. Chen's voice carried an edge of amusement that made Krithax's scales bristle. "I was wondering when you'd show up. The Confederation's reputation precedes you, claiming to protect while you strip mine colonies and harvest biological samples. Did you really think Earth wouldn't notice the pattern?" Before Krithax could respond, the station's lighting shifted to deep red. Warning klaxons blared, and massive security doors began slamming shut throughout the complex. "Squad 2, breach that security office," Krithax ordered. "Squad 3, secure the command center. The rest of you, fan out and..." The station's artificial gravity disappeared. In the sudden weightlessness, his soldiers flailed, their training failing them. Then, just as quickly, the gravity returned, at triple strength. Confederation troops slammed into the deck, their armor cracking under the pressure. Through it all, Krithax caught a glimpse of movement. A shadow passing through a maintenance hatch. The security feeds showed a brief image of a human male in simple station coveralls, moving with impossible grace despite the gravitational fluctuations. "You seem confused, Lieutenant," Chen's voice echoed again. "You expected primitive humans cowering before your advanced technology. Instead, you found me. Let me explain something about Earth. We evolved on a death world, where everything from the gravity to the atmosphere tried to kill us. Your entire invasion force just walked into my home territory. The lights went out completely." In the darkness, Krithax heard the distinct sound of maintenance hatches opening throughout the station. The hunt had begun, and for the first time in his military career, Lieutenant Krithax wasn't sure who was hunting whom. Squad 2 never reached the security office. Their final transmission consisted of confused shouts and the sound of hissing air. Krithax reviewed the footage for the 5th time, mandibles clicking in frustration as he watched his elite soldiers disappear into the darkness of the cargo bay. "Impossible," Zixtol muttered, his scales pale with fear. The human's biological signature vanished from our scanners moments before the attack. No species can mask their life signs without technology. The security feed showed fragments of the encounter. A shadow moving between shipping containers. The flash of a maintenance tool turned weapon. Most disturbing was the speed. The human moved like liquid darkness, flowing through spaces that should have been too small for a bite. "Report from Squad 3. A communication officer announced. "They've reached the command center, but—" She hesitated. "It's been completely stripped. All critical systems were routed to secondary controls. They're locked out." Krithax slammed his armored fist against the wall. His entire military career, he'd fought against species that relied on superior numbers or advanced technology. But this human fought like something else entirely, a predator in its natural habitat. The station's hydroponics bay went dark next. Squad 4 had been securing the food production systems when their communications cut out. The security feed showed only glimpses, plants swaying in artificial wind, nutrient mist reducing visibility to mere meters. Then movement, too fast to track. By the time Krithax ordered reinforcements, 5 more soldiers had vanished. "Lieutenant," Zixtol's voice shook, "you need to see this." The main display showed an internal scan of the station's maintenance network, a maze of tunnels and access shafts running between the walls. Heat signatures appeared and disappeared at impossible intervals. Either the human could teleport or— "He's using the vibrations of our movement to track us," Krithax realized. "Our powered armor, designed to make us stronger, is creating a map of our positions through the station's structure." A message flashed across their tactical displays, transmitted through their own encrypted channels. Lesson 1. Sound travels differently through station metal than atmosphere. Your armor's great for stopping plasma bolts. Not so great for stealth. "How is he in our systems?" Zixtol demanded. "Because you brought exactly what I needed," Chen's voice replied, and Krithax realized with horror that their entire tactical network was compromised. That first squad in the cargo bay. Their armor's quantum processors made a nice upgrade to my access protocols. The station's air recyclers kicked into overdrive. Sections of corridor began cycling between vacuum and pressure, creating moving walls of force that separated the alien squads. Krithax watched helplessly as his carefully coordinated assault turned into isolated pockets of increasingly panicked soldiers. Through it all, the human's pattern became clear. He never engaged more than 2 soldiers at once. He used their own technology against them. Most importantly, he seemed to understand their psychology better than they understood his. "Status report," Krithax demanded. "Squads 2 and 4 are dark. Squad 3 is trapped in the command center. Squad 5 reports. Sir, they report seeing the human walk across the exterior hull without a pressure suit. Impossible." "Correction." Chen's voice cut in. "Improbable. But that's humanity's specialty. Doing the improbable when necessary. Your armor recycles oxygen, filters toxins, and maintains pressure. Mine just has to keep vacuum out for 90 seconds. Sometimes, simple solutions work better." The lights flickered again. Krithax realized they were being herded, pushed by atmospheric pressures and gravity fluctuations toward the central hub. His remaining soldiers clustered together, following their instincts to gather in defensive formations. As he watched the tactical display show his forces consolidating, Krithax had a chilling realization. Every move they'd made had been predicted, counted on. They weren't hunting a primitive defender. They were prey, being maneuvered by an apex predator who had turned their own behaviors into weapons against them. Krithax found himself alone in the station's data core, surrounded by humming servers and blinking lights. His tactical team had intercepted fragments of the station's logs, hoping to understand their opponent. What they discovered shook them to their core. "Playing recovered file," Zixtol's voice crackled through his communicator. "Security Chief background briefing. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Marcus Chen's service record. Kruthax's translator struggled with Earth military terminology, but the images told a story that transcended language. Training exercises in environments that would kill most species, Arctic wastelands, scorching deserts, crushing ocean depths. How can one planet have such extreme conditions? Zixtal wondered aloud. Because Earth isn't just a death world. Chen's voice answered through the computer system. It's an everything world. We evolved to handle it all. Security footage from Chen's training appeared. Humans running in gravity wells that would crush Confederation soldiers, breathing air thick with toxins that would poison most species, surviving temperature swings that would shatter alien environmental suits. We thought their technology was primitive, Kruthax muttered, watching humans perform feats his species considered impossible without mechanical assistance. But they didn't need to build environmental suits. They built themselves. The station's temperature plummeted suddenly. Ice crystals formed on Kruthax's armor as the environmental systems simulated winter conditions. Through a nearby viewport, he watched 3 of his soldiers stumble through a corridor, their armor's heating systems struggling against the cold. A shadow moved behind them. Chen, wearing nothing but his station coveralls, emerged from a maintenance hatch. The human's breath frosted in the artificial winter, but he moved with the same fluid grace, unencumbered by the extreme temperature. Fascinating species, aren't you? Chen's voice echoed through the station's speakers as Kruthax watched him systematically dismantle the patrol. You evolved in perfect conditions, never had to adapt, never had to survive. The temperature returned to normal, but now the gravity in Section 6 increased to 3 times standard. Kruthax heard the groaning of stressed armor servos as his troops struggled to move. We cataloged your weaknesses, Kruthax countered, trying to maintain his composure. Your bones break. Your skin tears. You have no natural armor. A laugh echoed through the station. You documented our vulnerabilities but missed our strengths. We break, but we heal stronger. We bleed, but our blood clots. We fall, but we get back up. More station logs appeared on Kruthax's display. Medical records showing human recovery rates that defied Confederation understanding. Training scenarios that would be considered suicide missions for other species. Sir, Zixtal's voice shook. We found something else. Before his station assignment, Chen specialized in environmental survival and adaptive warfare. They called his unit Ghosts. Because you learned to become the environment, Chen added, and Kruthax realized the human had been listening to every word. When everything's trying to kill you, you either adapt or die. Earth taught us to adapt. The lights dimmed again, and Kruthax felt vibrations through the deck plating. Throughout the station, his remaining soldiers reported systems malfunctioning in their armor, environmental controls going haywire, targeting systems showing phantom readings. Your armor is remarkable technology. Chen's voice continued, closer now. But it's designed to protect against specific threats. Earth taught us there's no such thing as specific threats. There's just survival. Kruthax turned, scales rigid with tension, as a maintenance panel slid open behind him. Chen stood there, silhouetted against the emergency lighting, looking impossibly calm for someone facing an armored alien warrior. Ready for your evolution lesson, Lieutenant. For the first time in his military career, Kruthax understood true fear. He wasn't facing a primitive warrior with improvised weapons. He was facing the end result of millions of years of evolutionary pressure, a being forged in conditions that would kill most species in the galaxy. He was facing a ghost of Terra, and he was completely unprepared. The encounter in the data core lasted exactly 6 seconds. Kruthax's armor, worth more than a small starship, couldn't compensate for the sudden shift in artificial gravity. Chen moved like water, flowing around the alien's attacks before using Kruthax's own momentum to send him crashing into a server bank. Sir, Zixtal's voice crackled through damaged communications. We're detecting hull breaches in sections 7 through 9. Kruthax struggled to his feet, his armor's diagnostic systems screaming warnings. Chen had disappeared back into the station's arteries, but his voice remained, echoing through the compromised command network. "Your soldiers are bunching up," the human observed. "Hive species instinct. Gather together when threatened. On Earth, that's how prey animals behave." 3 more squadrons reported contact in rapid succession. Each time, the pattern was the same. Systems failure, gravitational fluctuations, then silence. The human wasn't just attacking their soldiers. He was attacking their fundamental nature. "Fall back to defensive positions," Kruthax ordered, limping toward the central hub. "Maintain squad cohesion and—" "Belay that order." Chen's voice cut through their frequencies. "Unless you want your troops to experience explosive decompression. Those hull breaches I mentioned, they're about to become relevant." Kruthax watched in horror as emergency bulkheads slammed down, dividing his forces into isolated pockets. The station's layout, which had seemed simple in their initial scans, revealed itself as a maze of death traps. Every retreat route led to another ambush point. Every defensive position became a cage. "Quantum communications are down," Zixtal reported. "We can't reach the fleet. He's using our own encryption processors against us, building some kind of localized jamming field." Through fragmenting security feeds, Kruthax watched his carefully orchestrated invasion crumble. In Sector 12, a squad of veterans with centuries of combined experience fell to a series of automated maintenance drones, reprogrammed to emit frequencies that disrupted their armor's neural interfaces. "You rely too much on technology," Chen commented, as if reading Kruthax's thoughts. "Humanity learned a different lesson. Technology fails. Bodies adapt." The station's artificial environment shifted again. Entire sections filled with dense fog, steam from ruptured cooling lines. In others, the atmosphere became thin, simulating high-altitude conditions that left the alien soldiers gasping while their armor struggled to compensate. "Status report," Kruthax demanded, knowing the response would only confirm his fears. "Squads 6 through 9 are dark. Squad 10 is trapped in the hydroponics bay. Something in the nutrient mist is eating through their armor's outer layer." Squad 11 reports. Zixtal paused, mandibles clicking in disbelief. "They report the human is in multiple locations simultaneously." "Maintenance tunnels," Kruthax realized. "He's using them to move faster than our tracking systems can update. We're fighting a ghost." A new message flashed across their tactical displays. Lesson 2, never fight the environment. You'll lose. Instead, become the environment. Let it fight for you. Secondary explosions rocked the station. Emergency systems activated and deactivated in random patterns. The entire structure seemed to come alive, turning into an organism intent on expelling the invaders. "Sir," Zixtal's voice had lost all military discipline, replaced by primal fear. "We should retreat. Regroup with the fleet. This isn't a battle anymore. It's a hunting ground, and we're not the hunters." Kruthax began to respond, but stopped as the station's lighting shifted to deep red. Through the nearest viewport, he watched as his soldiers' positions were systematically exposed by emergency strobes. Their powered armor, designed to protect them in any environment, now made them bright targets against the darkness. "Time for your final exam," Chen's voice announced. "Let's see how well you've learned about fighting Deathworlders." The lights went out completely, plunging the station into absolute darkness. In the distance, Kruthax heard the distinctive sound of maintenance hatches opening. The hunt had entered its final phase. The Confederation flagship's transmission cut through the chaos. "Deploy the hunter-killers. Authorization. Omega Protocol." Kruthax felt his scales tighten. The hunter-killers were forbidden technology. Autonomous combat drones with crystalline quantum processors capable of learning and adapting in real time. Even possessing them violated 6 different galactic treaties. "Sir," Zixtal's voice trembled. "They can't be serious. Those things don't distinguish between friend and foe once they're activated." Through the station's viewports, Krithax watched as 12 obsidian spheres emerged from the flagship's launch bay. They moved like liquid metal, flowing through the station's defensive shields as if they weren't there. To all remaining forces, Krithax broadcast, "Fall back to secure positions. The hunter-killers will handle the human." Chen's voice came through immediately. "Interesting toys. Mind if I take a look?" The first hunter-killer entered through the primary airlock. Its surface rippled, forming sensor arrays and weapon ports. Its quantum processor began mapping the station's layout, learning, adapting. Then it disappeared into a maintenance shaft. "Contact," a soldier reported. "Hunter-Killer 1 has engaged the target in section." "Wait. Something's wrong." "Its attack patterns are." "Sir, it's just floating there." Security feeds showed the scene. The drone hung motionless in a corridor, while Chen stood before it, a modified engineering tablet in his hands. Lines of alien code streamed across the screen. "Remarkable architecture," Chen commented. "But you made the same mistake everyone makes when fighting humans. You assumed better technology meant certain victory." The hunter-killer's surface rippled again. Its obsidian color shifted to a deep crimson. "What's he doing?" Zixtal whispered. "Warning," the station's computer announced. "Unknown program detected in defense network. Quantum signature matching hunter-killer protocols detected in primary systems." Krithax watched in horror as the captured drone's programming spread through the station's networks like a virus, infecting the other hunter-killers as they entered. One by one, their colors changed. Lesson 3. Chen's voice echoed. "Humans don't just adapt to technology. We make it adapt to us." The hunter-killers moved in perfect synchronization now, but they weren't hunting Chen anymore. They turned toward the Confederation forces, their weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. "Impossible," Krithax breathed. "The quantum processors are encoded with unbreakable loyalty protocols." "Unbreakable," Chen laughed. "Earth's history is nothing but broken limits. We took your perfect hunters and gave them something they never had before: chaos." The reprogrammed drones attacked with devastating precision. They knew every weakness in the Confederation armor, every tactical protocol the soldiers had been trained to follow. Where one drone fell, 2 more appeared, learning from their predecessors' defeat. "Fall back," Krithax ordered. "All forces, emergency retreat." The station's airlocks sealed simultaneously. Emergency force fields activated, trapping the alien soldiers in segments throughout the station. Through the internal windows, Krithax watched his troops engage in desperate combat against machines they had considered their salvation moments before. "Your hunter-killers were programmed to be perfect." Chen's voice was closer now. "Perfect is predictable. Humans? We're adaptable. Imperfect. Chaotic. That's what makes us dangerous." A hunter-killer floated through the bulkhead behind Krithax, its surface rippling with impossible patterns. The human stood beside it, hand resting on its obsidian surface like a trainer with a loyal beast. "Ready to discuss surrender terms?" Chen asked. "Or should I let my new friends continue their demonstration?" Krithax looked at the transformed drone, then at the human who had turned the Confederation's ultimate weapons into his own personal army. In that moment, he understood why Earth was classified as a death world. It wasn't the planet that made humans dangerous. It was their ability to turn any weapon, any technology, any advantage against their opponents. They were the ultimate adaptive nightmare. Krithax stumbled into the station's secure archives, his damaged armor whining with every movement. Behind him, the sounds of combat echoed through the corridors as his remaining forces fought their own reprogrammed hunter-killers. The archive's quantum computers hummed to life automatically. Data streams filled the air around him, and his translator began processing years of accumulated intelligence reports about Earth. "Interesting reading, isn't it?" Chen's voice came through a nearby speaker, especially the parts about human radiation resistance. Krithax's mandibles clicked as he read. Earth's background radiation levels were lethal to most spacefaring species. Humans hadn't just survived it. They'd evolved complex repair mechanisms at the cellular level. "You knew," Krithax said. "You knew this wasn't about peacekeeping." "The Confederation's been studying us for years," Chen replied, "watching how we heal, how we adapt. Your scientists couldn't believe a species could evolve natural radiation resistance. They thought we must have developed some secret technology." More files appeared, classified mission briefings, genetic research proposals, weapons development programs. The truth hit Krithax like a gravitational shock. This invasion had never been about protecting a primitive species. "Biosamples," Krithax whispered. "They sent us to harvest biosamples. To create super soldiers," Chen confirmed. "Imagine Confederation troops with human radiation resistance, human healing factors, human adaptability. You wouldn't just be peacekeepers anymore. You'd be unstoppable." A hunter-killer phased through the archives wall, its surface rippling with crimson patterns. Chen stepped out behind it, still wearing his simple station coveralls, now stained with hydraulic fluid from disabled combat suits. "Your commanders knew a direct invasion of Earth would be costly," Chen continued. "So they decided to start small. One station, minimal crew, easy target for biosample collection." Krithax's tactical display flashed warnings as more hunter-killers surrounded the archive. Through the station's windows, he could see his flagship preparing weapon systems. "They'll destroy the station," Krithax warned. "Erase the evidence." "They can try," Chen smiled. "But remember those transmissions I've been intercepting. Every file, every secret, every betrayal. It's already been broadcast to Earth's defense fleet. They're on their way." The archive's displays showed new data, Earth's military response calculations, casualty projections, strategic analyses that made Krithax's scales pale. "You don't understand what you've done," Krithax said. "The Confederation won't stop. They'll send more ships, more soldiers." "No," Chen corrected, "they won't. Because now they know what one human can do to an invasion force. Imagine what an entire planet of us could do." Security feeds showed the station's current status: disabled alien soldiers, reprogrammed hunter-killers, and system after system under human control. All this time, Krithax realized, you weren't just fighting us. You were teaching us a lesson. "Several lessons," Chen nodded. "About adaptation, about underestimating Deathworlders, but mostly about consequences. Your leaders thought they could experiment on humans, turn us into weapons. They forgot something crucial." "What's that?" "We're already weapons. Evolution forged us in Earth's crucible. Every human is the end product of millions of years of survival against impossible odds. We don't need genetic engineering to be dangerous. We just need a reason to fight." The station's alert system activated as multiple ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. Earth's defense fleet had arrived. "So, Lieutenant," Chen said, "ready to talk about why you're really here?" "Because Earth's commanders have some questions about these classified files, and I think you'll find being honest is in everyone's best interest." Krithax looked at the human before him. No powered armor, no advanced weapons, just the product of a world that had tried to kill his species for millions of years and failed. In that moment, he understood why the Confederation's plan had been doomed from the start. They had tried to turn humans into weapons, not realizing that humans had already turned themselves into something far more dangerous: survivors. The Confederation flagship's primary weapons powered up, bathing the station in ominous crimson light. In the central hub, surrounded by disabled alien soldiers and reprogrammed hunter-killers, Marcus Chen watched the energy readings climb. "Last chance, Deathworlder," the Confederation Admiral's voice boomed through all channels. "Surrender the station, or we'll vaporize it." Krithax, now stripped of his damaged armor, stood with his remaining officers in the hub. "They're serious. That's enough firepower to split this station in half." "Maybe," Chen acknowledged, his fingers dancing across a control panel. But they forgot something important about space stations. A slight smile crossed his face. They're built to handle extreme conditions. The station's artificial gravity suddenly reversed. Krithax and his officers slammed into the ceiling while Chen remained anchored, magnetic boots humming softly. Through the hub's massive windows, they watched as the Confederation troops, still in powered armor, found themselves pulled in a dozen different directions as gravity shifted independently in each section. Warning, the station's computer announced. Artificial gravity systems operating beyond safety parameters. Environmental controls disengage. Experiencing multiple localized gravitational events. Chen moved through the chaos like he was born to it, his movements fluid and precise despite the gravitational mayhem. "Your soldiers train in zero," he explained, dodging a floating piece of debris. "But Earth gravity is 6 times what your species evolved in. Let's see how they handle that." The station's gravity plating engaged at full power. Throughout the complex, Confederation soldiers in powered armor crashed to the deck, their servo motors screaming as they tried to compensate for forces they were never designed to handle. "Impossible," Zixtal gasped, watching through security feeds. "Their armor should protect them from gravitational stress." "Should," Chen agreed, moving effortlessly through the crushing force. "But we humans grew up in this gravity. Our bones developed under this pressure. Your armor's fighting against itself, trying to compensate for what we consider normal." The few remaining combat-capable soldiers converged on the hub, their movements sluggish and uncoordinated in the intense gravity. Chen met them with the same terrifying efficiency he'd displayed throughout the battle, using their own weight against them, turning their powered armor into prison cells. Through it all, he moved like water, like shadow, like something born in higher gravity and honed by evolution into a perfect predator. The security feeds captured it all, one human dismantling an army through pure adaptation and skill. "Sir," a communication officer called out. "The Earth fleet. They're not attacking. They're recording this." Krithax understood immediately. This wasn't just a defense. It was a demonstration. Every move, every adaptation, every display of human capability was being broadcast across Confederation space. The station shuddered as the flagship's weapons reached full charge. Chen's response was immediate. The reprogrammed hunter-killers formed a defensive screen around the station, their quantum processors calculating shield harmonics in perfect synchronization. "You know what's fascinating about Earth history?" Chen asked, disabling another soldier with casual efficiency. "We spent thousands of years fighting each other. Different gravities, different atmospheres, different environments on the same planet. We had to adapt to everything." The hub's displays showed the approaching Earth fleet, their weapons powered down, simply observing. They didn't need to fight. Chen had already won the battle. "Your soldiers are brave," he continued, moving through the crushing gravity, as if it was nothing. "Well-trained, well-equipped. But they never had to evolve under constant pressure, never had to adapt to survive every single day." The last Confederation soldier fell, their armor crumpled under the relentless gravity. Chen stood in the center of the hub, surrounded by the results of his one-man war, a living testament to human evolution. "This is why we're called Deathworlders," he said, looking directly at Krithax. "Not because our world tries to kill us, but because we've spent millions of years learning how to kill back." The gravity returned to normal, leaving the aliens to contemplate a brutal truth. They had come to study human adaptability, and instead had become a lesson in it. The Confederation flagship's weapons powered down as the last transmission completed. Every species with access to galactic communications had witnessed the battle. One human, one station, one impossible victory. In the hub's makeshift medical bay, Krithax watched Chen tend to injured alien soldiers with the same efficiency he'd shown in combat. "You could have killed them all," he observed. "Why didn't you?" "Because that's another thing about evolution," Chen replied, applying a pressure seal to a damaged scale pattern. The most successful species aren't just good at killing. They're good at knowing when not to kill. The Earth fleet maintained their defensive position around the station. Their weapons remained silent. They didn't need to speak. The recording of a single human defeating a Confederation army said more than any threat could. The Confederation Council is convening an emergency session, Zixtal reported, his scales still pale from the battle. They're reclassifying Earth. Chen nodded, moving to treat another injured soldier. Let me guess. From primitive protected species to sovereign Deathworld civilization. Higher, Krithax clicked his mandibles in amazement. Category 1 Environmental Adaptation Species. It's a new classification, created specifically for humans. Through the hub's windows, they could see the hunter-killers still maintaining their protective screen around the station. The supposedly perfect weapons had been transformed, just as this encounter had transformed the galaxy's understanding of humanity. Your commanders wanted to study human adaptation, Chen said, finishing his medical rounds. Well, they got their data, just not the way they expected. The station's quantum communications array activated, processing incoming transmissions from across the galaxy. Species after species withdrawing from the Confederation's protective treaties, worlds demanding new diplomatic protocols. The balance of power shifting in real time. They're calling you the ghost of Terra in the broadcasts, Krithax said. The stations and colonies we've protected in the past are using this as inspiration, demanding independence. Good, Chen replied simply. Evolution isn't just physical. Societies evolve too. Sometimes they just need a catalyst. A final transmission came through. The Confederation Council's official declaration. Earth was being recognized not just as a sovereign world, but as a protected space. Any aggressive action against human territories would be considered an act of war against a superior military power. It's not just about the fighting, Chen explained, seeing Krithax's confusion. Your leaders finally understand what makes humans different. We don't just survive our death world. We thrive in it. We take whatever tries to kill us and turn it into a tool for survival. Krithax looked at his former enemy, seeing not just a warrior, but a living example of evolutionary success. What happens now? Now, Chen smiled. Now we do what humans do best. We adapt. Your people wanted to study us. Fine. But as equals, not test subjects. We'll share what we know about survival, about adaptation. In return, you'll share your technology, your knowledge of the galaxy. The hunter-killers shifted, their surfaces rippling with new patterns. They were still learning, still evolving, just like the species that had reprogrammed them. The Confederation made one fundamental mistake, Chen continued. They thought being a Deathworlder made us primitive. They didn't understand that surviving Earth didn't just make us strong. It made us innovative, adaptive, capable of turning any situation to our advantage. As Earth ships began docking procedures, Chen turned to Krithax one last time. Tell your leaders this. Humanity is ready to join the galactic community. Not as subjects, not as specimens, but as teachers, because if there's one thing Deathworlders know how to do, it's survive. And in this galaxy, that might be the most valuable lesson of all. Krithax watched as Chen coordinated with the arriving Earth forces, directing medical aid, organizing repairs, treating former enemies with the same care as allies. He realized that this wasn't just the end of a battle. It was the beginning of an evolution. The galaxy would never be the same. And perhaps, he thought, that was exactly what it needed.